You know what, Marcus? I totally messed up. I meant to ask you to do the intro before I hit the live button, but I did not do that. So now I am asking you to do the intro live because I think I did like the last three and I feel like I'm hogging it. So, kind
Hug
sir,
away. Hug away.
oh, no, no, no. I would like, it would make me happy for you to
You're
do
just
this
having the
intro.
day off. If you want to have the day off, all right. Well, welcome everybody to the BeeRPad. I am Marcus. He is Raymond. And we are here talking about the end of Lasso, the season finale, the series finale of one Tedrick Lasso, Kansas's finest, the master of the barbecue sauce, who managed
Right.
AFC Richmond. We are Richmond till we die. That's right, everybody. We're rocking our Lasso memorabilia. Ray has got the banter and the great
Yes.
away kit there in the background. Um, it's it's funny. This show has just taken on a life of its own. I mean, it hit the sweet spot for giving us something tangible to enjoy that was different, wasn't dark, wasn't cynical, at a
Yeah.
time when we were as a planet hurting. I know it sounds like hyperbole, but it's not. That first season when we were all in lockdown really did. It brought a smile to everybody's faces. And then season two followed directly afterwards the following summer. And again, just was more of what we needed. And it did feel like the Empire Strikes Back. And now after a 2-year wait, we've had the third series, the longest of the series, the longest break, the longest series, the longest amount, the largest amount of episodes. The length of the episodes has doubled, sometimes more than doubled.
Yeah.
And this has basically capped off a interesting 4 days where we've had the Succession series finale. Now we've had Lasso. And so what we're going to do tonight is we are going to talk about all things Ted Lasso season 3, the finale. Did we like it? Did we hate it? What's going on? Where do we see things going? Will we get a spin-off? What surprised us? So was that a good enough intro for you, Matt?
That was a wonderful intro. Now I want to see what you chose as a display name. Barbecue sauce. Love it. I chose Higgins when he said he was a flaneur by nature. That's when he was displaced from his office from Dr. Sharon.
All right, right.
And
Yeah, I was tempted between barbecue sauce and Coach Beard's baby.
baby, but it's hard to get the intonation across
It is.
in just text, but that is a fantastic one.
Well, there's always, I'm Marcus fucking Beard.
Oh, what's in the glass today?
Today we are looking at a very, very naughty and a very wonderful Macallan 12.
Aha.
Yes, indeed. In honor of, pouring out for one of the best shows to come along in a very long time. And it's ending, whether it be premature,
Yeah,
or perfect.
yeah.
That's
So
the big question.
we are going to talk about season 3 as a whole, but of course, with the finale just fresh on our minds, I'd like to start there. How do you feel about that?
I will quote Sudeikis on this, where he said that Ted Lasso was not about Ted Lasso's journey. He was just a component of that journey. And I think that was summed up in the last couple of minutes where he had Trent Crimm's book, the manuscript, and he scribbled out the Ted Lasso story or the Ted Lasso way.
I believe this is my friend Johan saying all good shows have great endings. I disagree, sir. I mean, Seinfeld, terrible
Sopranos.
ending. Sopranos, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great shows with crap endings for different, all kinds of reasons.
And let's hold off. Maybe we should hold off on the comments, perhaps till we've gone through the main stuff this time, because I know it's easy to get a sidetracked. So
yes.
let's just we'll pause on those. But my point being is that they changed it to the Richmond story, and that's what this became. it
Yes.
started with this fish out of water, this American coach coming to coach a Premier League team, and we all thought it's like, oh my god, it's the movie. See, it's the movie Major League,
Yeah.
but with a a struggling football team in the Premier League. But it became so much more than that. And you can see that with Jamie Tart, and you can see it with Roy Kent. You can see it with Keely Jones. You can see it with practically everyone they touch.
Yes.
And I think that's where, if there is a future for AFC Richmond, and future stories to tell for AFC Richmond, that's where the show goes. Not necessarily with Ted Lasso, and you don't carry on with the name Ted Lasso. But
yes.
you can look at going forward with the Richmond story, the Richmond way, AFC Richmond, whatever you want to call it, and you bring back these characters, because who doesn't want to know how Roy Kent's going to manage the team? Is Nate promoted to assistant coach? Because you see that final scene where you've got assistant coach Beard and you've got Nate too, and what happens with Rebecca, where she is she's sold 49% of the club to the fans, and that could cause that can cause some issues and controversy. Will Rupert rise again? Will he buy shit? Will he buy Brighton and turn them into something that we can all hate? Although it is much easier to hate West Ham. Maybe he'll buy Spurs. Brighton. Rupert seems like a very Spursy manager to me.
He might be more competent with his malevolence than anything that Spurs do.
That might be perfect for him. But I mean, I could see the story spinning off without its main star.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of this. It's gone from, a cool soccer, comedy with Jason Sudeikis. I loved him in Saturday Night Live. He was the guy who did the Running Man in What's Up With That. And, he did, Joe Biden, and he did, it's like,
Horrible Bosses. He had
Horrible
those
Bosses.
movies. We're the Millers.
We're the Millers. He's done a bunch of stuff. And yeah, there's no reason that the show or a version of the show can't continue with Apple's infinite money, and I'm sure they've got money to throw at it. Where you could even touch on Ted's journey. I mean, again, you get to see him at the end coaching his kid's soccer team. And it's like, be a goldfish is one of the last things that he says. And there's no reason that Sudeikis can't revisit the character. I mean, he is there. And it's just, I suppose it just depends on the amount of actors and actresses and writers who want to still be involved in telling these stories, because I think there's an interest in it.
Oh, there's definitely an interest from not just from the viewers, but I'm positive that Apple wants more content from these creators. Whether it's, I think Ted's story is over, but the world he's made, the other characters the show has introduced, I think there's a lot of great stories that can be told. Now,
the
Lassoverse. The fear, of course, is that you end up with a Joey spinning off from Friends, but I don't think that will be the case with these particular creators.
The difference with Joey, though, I mean, Joey was, you took one out of the 6. And the other 5 went their own separate ways, and then you to a totally different area.
Yeah,
that would be, it's like, all right, Coach Beard is off to coach in Spain. Let's follow his wacky adventures with El Beardo. This time, if you keep that core group together, if you keep Danny Rojas, if you keep James Zorro, I mean, keep it Richmond. Richmond is the lead character.
Right.
You can actually do something really cool, and you can actually move new characters in as transfers and retirements happen and people move out, and you can actually almost like a comedic soap opera. This could run for a while.
Yeah.
Where you're like, all right, they got relegated. Oh shit, they got relegated again. There's a new owner. I mean, there's a lot of fun stories you could do every couple of years on this. They're on a cup run. They've just how they do in Europe.
And like you pointed out, like what Ted wrote on Trent's manuscript was, it's not about me. It never was. So look at all these great characters.
Yeah.
Now, the first ticker of the day. How did you enjoy the finale? And what were some of your favorite moments in the finale? And there were so many. My God.
You go first. Go on.
Yeah. I would say the finale was 95, maybe 97% of what I wanted. As we had discussed before, and we'll talk about the point a little next, but I did not want Richmond to win it all. I wanted it to be about the characters. I always thought Ted was going to go home, but I got talked out of that and eventually thought he would settle down with Sassy somewhere in England because he would be leaving too much behind. But so many of the endings they chose for these characters had satisfying conclusions. There was one exception that I didn't like that I wanted to see through, but I loved Rupert's comeuppance and that the team he loves, the fans he loves, they're all calling him a wanker in the stadium that he used to own. That, oh, spoiler alert, sorry, there's going to be spoilers. So,
I mean, let's face it, if you're tuning in to look at this, I mean, we've spoiled it so many times from the opening thing about 11 minutes ago. So, yeah.
Yes. I will put this up because Johan completely agrees with you about the show being able to move on without the title character. Yeah, I think that's a credit to the writers.
Nice with this thing on. I mean, Jesus, crazy.
I never understood visors. I mean, like it's like a hat, but not.
Yeah, it's like a part-time hat that's not really committed to doing it anyway.
Yes.
You're still going to get skin cancer from the sun shining through. Maybe it avoids hat hair or something. I don't know. Anyway,
sure.
Yeah. All right. Fuck it. I'm done with that. oh my God.
My favorite moment in the finale. I mean, I don't know. I guess it would be the musical bit in the beginning when they do the song from A Sound of Music, So Long Farewell. I mean, it's a great song. It's a callback to the Julie Andrews stuff they had before, and that is a movie I watched so many times with my parents. My parents were big fans of musical theater and Julie Andrews in general. So they showed me a lot of her movies. They took me to a lot of musicals. So I really appreciated that. And I don't know, just how happy everyone is when Ted told them it was perfect and they all go ape shit. I loved it.
Well, that's a very British thing. It's like the Sound of Music is, I mean, when I was growing up in my generation, and I think, everybody who, predates cable and certainly predates streaming.
Yeah.
In the UK, the Sound of Music was on every Christmas. It was on Christmas week or the week between Christmas and New Year, because again, in the UK, you'd have like from the day before Christmas Eve off till about the day after New Year's Day, or even the day after that, depending on how it fell. Because I mean, that's how it works over there, or it used to. And so the Sound of Music was on, and we all knew it.
And it was an event. It was an event when it was on.
It was an event. This is the first time you saw it,
but right.
But at the end of the day, it's like you get to your 33rd Christmas, and it's like, fucking Sound of Music's on again. Okay, all right. Well, I mean, and you literally think it's not Christmas unless there's certain movies on. British rules are you have to see The Wizard of Oz at Christmas. I feel it's a Christmas movie. Sound of Music, ditto. Oliver, another musical. I mean, these three are musicals, and then you throw in the Bond movie. You have to have a Bond movie, and you have to watch one Christmas Day.
Any specific era Bond, or
anything goes. Anything goes. You watch whatever the fuck you want. I mean, and I mean that's why that one I think works from a very British perspective, because I know people. It was an Oscar-winning movie, I do believe. And, if you haven't seen it, I mean, obviously there was The Sound of Music Live, which was basically a televisual abortion on TV several, years ago on Fox. But again, I mean, that whole thing just felt exceptionally British. And that's why, the thing from that scene that made me smile so much is that Roy Kent.
Mm-hmm. He's mouthing.
Was singing along, and you could tell it was his idea, and he was the one who drilled everybody, and he was the one, and he's just been through the he'd been through the same thing as me, where it's like, all right, this is the perfect song. Everybody will get this. All the British people sitting behind you watching the training session, they'll get this because this is British culture. So yeah, that tickled me pink. I loved that. That was a great one.
And Roy mouthing the lyrics is also a slight callback to when they were in karaoke when they played Everton, and Rebecca's singing Frozen, and she's singing Let It Go from Frozen, and Roy is mouthing the words as she's singing
because he's got his little niece.
Yes.
Yeah. Who, I mean, look, I had never heard Let It Go until my sister told me one Christmas that my niece Mia was so into Frozen. So going to Target over here, I mean, we have a bunch of merchandise for these films that they don't get over there. And so I bought her this little dress that has a button on it, and it plays Let It Go.
Oh, that's
we took it over for Christmas, and by the time I left, I knew every word to that goddamn song. So I can feel Roy's pain there, because my sweet, sweet little Mia, who is now probably 10 or 11, she basically wore up the battery on that dress within the first 3 weeks of having it.
So are you her Uncle Roy to her Phoebe? Is that your?
No. I mean, they don't see me often enough to hear me swear, thankfully. Yeah, I've got 3 nephews and a niece, and unfortunately I don't get to see them often enough. And 2 are fully grown now. One's a policeman.
Oh wow!
I've got 2, two are younger, and we bond over Doctor Who and various other things. Right. But I would love to see them a lot more. But I would love to be the Uncle Roy who picks them up, takes them for ice cream, and swears away. And my sister then lectures me about it. But I made the choice to live in another country,
right? And
so they are 4,000 miles away.
Let me see if I'm getting this right. So your nephew is a roser, is that correct?
That's a very English term. He's a police constable. I'm very, very proud of him. Very, very proud of Ethan and Luke and Richard, who are my 3 nephews. I love them very, very much, and I'm just sorry that I rarely get to see them.
Well, cheers to you guys. Johan adds, Die Hard is the best Christmas movie, and I think you very much would agree with him on that point. You have one of my favorite Christmas ornaments ever. With John McClane in the vent.
Yes, that is a great Christmas one that my wife bought for me. But anyway, all right. So, did I enjoy the Ted Lasso finale? I really did.
Yes.
I thought it was up there with some of the best finales of a show I've seen. My other favorite recently being, obviously Succession. I thought that was great. And then The Good Place. I thought they had an excellent finale there. My favorite moment, it kicked off right from the beginning where Rebecca's sitting there having a cup of coffee in her kitchen, and Ted comes in his his underpants and his Kansas City Chiefs or whatever it is shirt, and then you've got Beardy coming in in the red thong, and I thought, obviously, yes, this is going to be, this is elements of British sex comedy farce about it, but this is going to be funny. There's going to be an explanation.
But I love the swerve of that, because so many people wanted to ship Ted and Rebecca.
Oh yeah, there's so much fan fiction.
Yeah,
on Twitter, you search for, if you follow Ted Lasso on Twitter, you'll see these. Was it Tedeka?
Yeah,
it was the fan name, and that was never going to happen, I think, but yeah, that was a great start. There were so many things I enjoyed. I enjoyed Nate's redemption. I think, honestly, I don't think I have one singular moment. I think there is I'm with you on 97% happiness. Because you'll know what my 3% not happy is.
Yes.
And it's down to Manchester fucking City again. You can't even stay out of my favorite fictional shows, for God's sake. And that's my problem. I would honestly, it would not be beyond the realms of possibility that Manchester City would have been held by Liverpool to a 1-1 draw, allowing Richmond to sneak it. And that would have been the cherry on the cake. But I mean, and this is one of the things that, you know, I understand people saying, oh, it would have been too much, blah, blah, blah. But we're talking about a work of fiction, a work of fantasy. We're talking about in what has been a very uneven series, season at times, just having the chef's kiss of, yes, this is such a work of fiction in that a player comes out and everybody's happy with him. It's the end of the game. He's kissing his boyfriend and nobody is complaining. You know, that Rebecca bumps into her hunky Amsterdam pilot.
The Flying Dutchman.
The Flying Dutchman. Yeah, it would have just been, I think it would have just been the cherry on the top. But I can understand that nowadays you can't have absolutely everything, every bit of wish fulfillment. And that was the thing that held me back. But on the whole, it was a great series finale. And, you know, everybody got a great send-off. I mean, you know, there are things hanging. Keely's off doing her thing. Will she, you know, does she even need Roy or Jamie? When she kicked them both out of her house, I thought
that was great.
Cool.
That was
because she doesn't need them both.
It's Keely Jones, independent woman. I loved it. But to address the Man City point, the reason for that is the more that Jason Sudeikis, the actual person, watched football, the more he eventually became a Man City fan and a Pep Guardiola fan. So that influenced how he wrote the show.
Look, they should have just gone with fucking Arsenal. In that case, any team but City, because
but having Pep is cooler than having Mikel Arteta on.
No, you can still have Pep on
as the
but
coach.
I mean, it could have literally been. You could have said that it was like Arsenal, who are, you know, there's a three-way tie at the top, and Arsenal come through because obviously Coach Beard is a huge Arsenal fan.
Yeah,
I mean, there are so many other ways to play it, and it's just so. I mean, for a show that dispels with reality in so many other aspects.
Sure, yeah.
To have that one, and look, I mean, he may be a fan, and you are obviously a hardcore fan, but I hate to break it to you. 90% of the soccer following and Premier League following fan base cannot stand Manchester City and everything they stand for.
Sure.
And it's a validation of sports washing, which coming from somebody like Sudeikis, who is, you know, after the World Cup, the Euro semi-final or the Euro finals where Bukayo Saka and Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford missed their penalties and got so much horrendous racist abuse on social media for doing that because England lost to Italy. He went on a chat show the next night with I need to go on to Ted Lasso premiere with a T-shirt with these names, with the players' names to support them, and then to basically endorse a sports washing regime with a horrendous human rights record.
Sure, but I mean, those two things don't cancel.
That is beyond the pale and that is something that 90% of the football, you know, supporting population cannot stand this monopoly that's come up. And I know it's tough for you. You've been a Man City fan for a very long time.
Before they had money.
Remember the Alan Ball days, the Mark Hughes disaster. And I say that as Mark Hughes, who, Welsh legend, is such a great footballer, but a lousy fucking manager.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can go back to, Georgie King Clancy and all these players and Main Road before it was the Etihad. But there's so many people who we don't need to see that. I mean, ditto Newcastle and whoever Qatar buy. It just felt like a horrible, horrible feeling that Goliath couldn't be defeated by this little David just this once. Just this once.
Now, to go on your mention of Saka and Rashford, he did implement one of Rashford's children's books into the show. He was reading it to Henry in one of the scenes, and in the finale, he had Rashford in a fictitious magazine cover that was lauding him. So he did care enough about that. But from my perspective, I thought it was amusing that City won the league twice in 1 month. So.
Yeah, well,
Let's.
I'm just surprised they didn't have when they played them, they didn't have the Nordic flowing
Yes.
Thor. I mean, they should have had frickin' what's his name, Hemsworth, have a cameo up front as Erling Haaland.
That would be cool. Now let's move on to callbacks. This show, especially the finales in all 3 seasons, were chock full of callbacks. What were some of your favorite callbacks in the season 3 finale?
Well, I mean, look, you're going to have to go first on this one because I'm going to have to think about it because there's an awful lot of them.
There are 2 that stand out to me. I mean, bumping into the Ussie guy at the airport. I love the Ussie guy.
A nice touch, yeah.
The other one is when they run Nate's play and Jamie does a pretty much note for note impersonation. Ball. I want the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball, please.
Yeah, that was
and
great.
Just like Ted did.
Yeah, I mean, the SC guy was great. I mean, it's nice to see him appear every season. That's his 3rd season. He was obviously in the Christmas one. I don't know. I mean, honestly, like, not necessarily. It's not necessarily a callback, but to see Jamie and his dad.
Yeah,
that was a really touching aspect for me. That was good. That his dad and it was obviously, touched on last week where you see where's his dad, because I thought his dad had drunk himself to death.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like when his friends were talking.
You see him in this, you see him obviously in rehab. Yeah. And then, I mean, there's just a lot of it. I mean, the ongoing callback of the tall, old Scottish guy who every couple of episodes would walk past Ted Lasso and he's like, "Good job there, wanker."
Yes.
And, just go off because he'd be wearing his Richmond scarf. Yeah. I mean, I think it just ties into how they tied up a lot of the stories. The one thing that I do have a kind of issue with is how they timelined it. I understand you want to have Ted at the very end coaching his son.
Yeah.
Because obviously, they did the whole thing where, he gets on the plane and Beatty gets off because he wants to, he fakes an appendicitis. And he gets called, Ted gets called an arsehole because he doesn't want to go with him.
But first he touches the wrong side.
Yeah, after just pouring water over his face.
My appendix.
But then,
side, coach.
It went to this wrap of everybody's story.
Yes.
And then you had Ted landing. So either it's the longest fucking flight from London to Kansas because you saw, people having street parties. You saw people getting married.
Right. Keely hired her old staff, all of her old staff. Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen just from an editing perspective, Ted land and then go into the house. Because, I mean, that is the $64 million question. Did he get back with his wife?
Right.
Because, I mean, you could see that, and that was one of the beautiful things about the final game against West Ham. You could see Ted's ex and his kid, and they were so engrossed, so into it. There was so much love for Ted and his team. And then you had Dr. fucking Creeper Buster, who deserves to be struck off, going, making the usual American jokes of, we'll have 90 minutes or 2 hours and nothing will happen, and then we'll go home. And the fact that you could see any and all interest in this guy just going through the floor. I would have liked to have seen him getting a comeuppance. I would have liked to have seen Ted come home to them. Or not come home to them, go home to an apartment and start moving on. And then we'd have the montage.
Right. No, I totally agree.
It would have finished off with Ted coaching his kid. His ex could have been there. She could have been there with somebody else, or she could, they could have just been friends or whatever. Sassy could have visited, for God's sake.
Right.
That to me felt a little uneven.
So much happened in that montage, and when it cuts back to him waking up on the airplane, I'm like, did he just dream all that?
Yeah.
So
I mean, and he wasn't at Beardy's wedding.
yes, so that ties into. I will skip ahead to. Was there anything you wanted to wrap up in Lasso 3? That wasn't. So I did not like that Beard. That he wasn't at Beard's wedding because that makes no sense to me.
No sense at all. He would have been the
Yeah.
best man. He would have
Yes.
been, or he would have officiated. He would have been there. Yeah, absolutely. That is the. I think that's the biggest focus. That felt tacked on.
The other thing you also brought up is that I did not like that Dr. Jacob did not have a comeuppance because he essentially dated. No, he literally dated a patient, which is all kinds of wrong and immoral. And there was no consequence, or at least they didn't show any consequence on camera. So, that's a very big thing that just kind of got pushed to the side. So those were the two things I wanted to see wrapped up.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on those. Although it was nice to see Zava's obscenely large avocado.
And did you notice on the newspaper at the airport, it said that Zava was going to LAFC because they love avocados there. That was
Well, I just to hear Jamie talk with holy guacamole.
mole. Love
it. All right. So what's next? All right. Did we like season 3 as a whole?
Yes.
It was uneven. It was up and down. The Zava thing felt a little superfluous. I don't know. I mean, I could see he was a MacGuffin. I think the first couple of episodes were very, very uneven. I think once we got to Amsterdam felt like the season really kicked off, no pun intended. And then we came through very, very strong.
Yeah.
The last couple of episodes in particular. So from Amsterdam on, it was great. Before that, it was...
I didn't mind it. The first 5 episodes, I agree it wasn't as good as the second half at all. But there were parts that I very much enjoyed. I liked Zava, even though ultimately he wasn't completely necessary. But yeah, I totally know what you mean about the season being uneven, and really Amsterdam was the starting point for where pretty much everything from there on out was great. I loved every episode after that.
Yeah, I'm with you. It just felt... I can understand them wanting to sort of like, oh, Zava, and he's saving the season, and now they're down at the bottom, and now they've not won again, and this, that, and the other. So that was my only issue. It wasn't as strong as the first season, it wasn't as strong as the second, but I still think on the whole it was a good, if not outstanding season. If you took it from Amsterdam on, no quibbles.
Gotcha. Now, I do want to address some aspects of the show that got a lot of heat. Most of them were from the first half of the season. A lot of people, especially on Reddit, on Twitter, they really hated Shandy. They hated Keely's whole office story. And some of them didn't like Zava, not the character himself, who I thought was fantastic, and not what I expected, but because ultimately he didn't really need to be there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Jack and Shandy in particular felt absolutely useless plot devices. And I'm not sure they were thrown in there for inclusivity or whatever. Shandy in particular, absolutely useless. Keely bouncing into a relationship with somebody. I mean, she's obviously in a messy place, but Keely, I think, is well sharp enough that she wouldn't shag her boss. So yeah, I think Jack, and then Jack just vanishing, Zava vanishing, and like I said, Shandy was just useless from the get-go.
Yeah, like there was a practical reason for that whole Keely storyline, is that Juno Temple was filming another project at the same time, so she didn't have full availability. So that's why they had to film a lot of her scenes and write a lot of her story separate from most of the crew. And yeah, I think the show suffered for it because I think it would have been better if she were fully integrated. But
yeah, I mean, they could have maybe just done more video calls or something between her and Rebecca. And it felt levered in, and I would have rather not seen Keely.
Right,
Keely was Keely's away. Keely be coming back, in boom, boom, boom. and that would add to Roy pining for her and trying to struggle on his own. But anyway, that's that's it as far as I'm concerned. I mean, obviously the Roy and Keeley separation thing, that's something they wrote in at the end of season 2. I don't think they fully really. I mean, and if it turns out that it's down to scheduling conflicts, that's a tough one, and that's why you say Keeley's all right. Keeley, Juno Temple's out for the first 5 episodes, and she's separated because she is off doing PR in America. She's off doing this, that, and the other. Banter's being launched in America or something.
Right.
They could have done a better plot choice for that, and then you could have just had video calls between her and Rebecca, which I think would have been much, much better.
I think that would have, I agree. Totally agree. Now, sticking to the Sound of Music, let's talk about a few of our favorite things from Ted Lasso season 3. If you're watching live, a few of you are, chime in with your favorites. Let us start with music. Favorite songs from the Ted Lasso season 3 soundtrack. I will take this one first because this is a lot of these songs were straight off of my iPhone. They had a Rachel Yamagata track from like 2003 or 2004 or something. When Rebecca finds out that she can have kids, they played "Quiet" by Rachel Yamagata. One of my favorite songs, favorite artists. The montage had "Father and Son" from Cat Stevens / Yusuf Islam. And if Guardians of the Galaxy 2 didn't use that song so well, this would have been perfect for it. And they had All That You Are on the Nate episode from, what is that band called? Something with bear in it. The Bears Den? Need to find this. It will bother me. Yes, it is Bears Den, All That You Are. I always loved the way this series used music, and I thought this was better than ever. Did you have any favorite songs, Marcus?
I thought that the way they use music, I mean, first of all, it has one of the best soundtrack opening songs anyway.
Yes.
But I have always had a weak spot for Cat Stevens / Yusuf Islam's Father and Son.
Yeah.
It's something that's a deeply personal song to me. My sort of formative years of about 2 to 10, I didn't have a father figure in my life. My biological dad fucked off when I was 2 and didn't appear, didn't have an interest. So my mom raised me. She was amazing. And then obviously I had, and this is me being perhaps a little bit personal, but before my heart attack 6 years ago, my wife and I were foster parents, fostered to adopt, and we had a little boy. And we were on track to adopt him, and then the heart attack came along and just totally kiboshed that. And this song has always been hauntingly beautiful to me because it just seems like the love letter I'd want to give to my kid, and we don't have kids,
Right.
And so, honestly, that song started playing and Waterworks.
Yeah.
It was just, it's always such a powerful song to me, and I can't think of any yet. I mean, I know there are so many great songs that we used this season, but I can't get beyond that one song. I mean, that is it, and then Mental Block. And it's just it.
Now, this question might be tough because there's a lot of great contenders, but favorite episode from Ted Lasso season 3? Amsterdam, okay. Gezellig.
Amsterdam is the start of the season for me. It really kicked ass. It took them out of their comfort zone. Everybody had their own individual little adventure in there. Everybody had their own come to Jesus moment. It was the start. It was a great way to begin the end.
There's 3 in the second half. Johan says, "What Would I Do Without You" by Ray Charles. Absolutely. Mom City was fantastic on several levels. Just seeing the way I was shocked that they managed to make me empathize with Jamie's dad. I mean, that's pretty pretty
That was pretty
powerful.
amazing. Yeah. I mean, but that was just well done. I mean, and even the previous coach of Richmond who ended up coaching.
Yeah, George Cartrick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a dick all the way through his Soccer Saturday stuff with Jeff Stelling.
Yeah.
Jeff Stelling, by the way, UK football media
Legend.
icon who
Recently retired.
He retired on Super Sunday. That was his last. I mean, when I was in the UK and I had Sky Sports, I watched every week. He was Soccer Saturday and Soccer Sunday. He was the face there of that, just like Gary Lineker has been the face of Match of the Day for a long time. I mean, before that, for me, it was Des Lynam and Jimmy Hill growing up. But as a Brit, I have to just give a shout out to Jeff Stelling. There have been a lot of other pretenders to the crown, and most of them are racist fuckknuckles who are now on beIN Sports because they have to be in Saudi Arabia. And I will say to Eamon Holmes and Andy Gray, fucking suck it. You are not good enough to lace the boots of Jeff Stelling. So
the other episodes on my list were the Lacage episode, partially because of the music. Again, my parents took me to see Lacage on Broadway, so I loved hearing those songs in one of my favorite, or pretty much my favorite show ever. And it was just powerful having Colin come out and having him patch things up with Isaac. And I really loved the end, the conversation they had.
Great. And again, Amsterdam set that in motion.
Yes.
We had Trent come out to him.
Yes.
That's why Amsterdam to me is far and away the standout episode, because that every domino started tilting and it paid off last night.
Right. And then the other one I had up there is The Strings That Bind Us, which I thought had one of my favorite performances by Brett Goldstein, but also leads us to our next section is what were some of our favorite scenes. And the scene with the red string when they're training and
around the penises. Yes.
Just Roy's facial expressions and the way he was finally laughing and smiling, and the disappointment on his face when Jamie's dick ended up being okay. I loved that whole scene. I thought it was brilliant.
For me, my favorite scene going back to Amsterdam was the bicycle section with Jamie and Roy, where Jamie teaches Roy to ride and they have their heart-to-heart, and you can see that the seeds of friendship that were sown last season, in season 2, when his dad abused him, and he had his breakdown in the dressing room, and Roy comes in and he thinks Roy's going to nut him because he hit on Keeley, and Roy hugs him so hard, and that's what he needs. And that scene there, that's again one of the reasons why Amsterdam was just a standout. That's the one that's going to get the awards.
Let's see. Now, a lot of great performances in season 3. I mean, for me, Brett Goldstein just killed it. When he had the episodes that he had to carry scenes in, he excelled in that. But even when he didn't have a lot to work with, he stole a lot of scenes. Like the asides when Ted is giving the locker room talk and he's making these snarky comments. It's like, God, I hate what you've done to me. And it's like, Lord, please make it stop. He
became a fucking diamond dog.
Yeah. The way he asked it was so sweet. It's like, can I be a diamond dog? I loved what he did this season.
For me, it's a tie, and I'm going to go with Phil Dunster's Jamie Tart. The evolution of his character over the series was absolutely wonderful, and I mean it's just really incredibly tough because there are so many. I mean, Christoph Hernandez. You look at Keeley Hazel, Brendan Hunt has always been amazing. I mean, he reminds me of the Nessa character in the show Gavin and Stacey, if anybody's watched that. Sudeikis obviously works, Brett Goldstein, but my standout has to be Hannah Waddington. She's luminous. She lights up the screen every time she's on, and she brings an emotional range, and her journey from cold-hearted, not cold-hearted, but really hurt woman who's got this club and wants to run it into the ground, to somebody who loves it. And the line where she says to Ted, I can't stay if you can't stay.
Right.
I mean, that's a family. That's a brother and sister. That's goes beyond co-workers. It's not sexual. It's not romantic. But
Right.
the love and that the tears when she's back again at the airport to see him one more time, and then she walks out and you see she gets her happy ending because
Yes.
her Flying Dutchman is right there, and he's got a little girl and she can't have kids. And you just see, I mean, she's been so strong season after season, and that's why she's obviously won the Emmys. And I go back to her father's funeral.
Yes.
When she sings Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. She is just somebody who has gone from being in Game of Thrones and, saying shame to being an iconic national treasure in the UK. I mean, she co-hosted Eurovision a couple of weeks ago in the UK. And look, I mean, she is in. I think she's in the second. She's been cast in the second half of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 2, and I so look forward to seeing her in so many things. And she is the breakout star for me, and she is the shining light. She comes on stage, and it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt. Let's face it. She's a striking woman.
Absolutely.
But she's got a vulnerability about her as well. You can see how many times she's hurt, but she's also sort of like finding herself as the series goes on. And the scene where she just takes down this old white men convention of Premier League owners when the spin-off Super League was broached was just absolutely baller. And when Rupert leans in to kiss her at the end, and she's like, no. And she's just reclaiming her agency as this show goes. So
that was an excellent episode as well. The excellent Sam Richardson came back as Edwin Akufo. I love that actor.
I love that character. He didn't get a comeuppance because we got to see Sam Obasanye in the Nigerian Super Eagles team, and it would have been nice to see that character perhaps got done for fraud and was in jail, or his plane crashed or something. I would like to have had some sort of sign off on him. You can put him next to Dr. Pervert, and a couple of the others,
or maybe he comes back in a spinoff.
No, I don't want to see him in a spinoff. I do not want to see him in a spinoff.
He's a great antagonist.
He's a dick bag.
But Sam Richardson is such a fantastic actor. If you haven't seen him in Veep, highly, highly recommend that show as well. Very different kind of humor. That is more of the nasty punching down humor that American television is known for. But Sam Richardson is a kind, bright-hearted. He's kind of like the Ted Lasso in that show, where he's kind of innocent and very kind.
And Dr. Sharon, and that's my other regret, is that Dr. Sharon, we saw her at the very beginning and we saw her at the very end.
Yeah.
And we saw that she's back at Richmond. It would be lovely to have seen her come in and deal with some of the stuff. For example, with Keeley, you could have taken out that Keeley story with Jack and put Dr. Sharon in there.
Yeah. And she's a tremendous actor.
She is. Yes, she is. Sarah Niles. So, yes.
Now, a question for you. I will ask you one last question and shoot one at me if you're so inclined. Were you satisfied with Roy's ending? Because for me, I love that he didn't end up with Keeley. And I love that the last thing they show is him. They show him in therapy where he's finally getting the help that he needs after holding his emotions in for like 30 something years of his life. So I love that for him. I love that he was on the path and it wasn't a perfect ending, but he's getting there.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I think, again, Brett Goldstein has done such an amazing job from being this gruff character and this figure of, this is how sportsmen have to game of a real man, isn't it? Fucking this, fucking that, I'll break your legs. I went to Sunderland, they made me tough. All the way through to, his journey with Keeley, where she did soften him. We had the scene where, it's like, play the playlist that Roy has fucked up and he wants to make Keeley happy playlist.
I have that on my phone. It is actually the Roy is sorry for not understanding Keeley playlist.
Yeah. But I mean, Brett Goldstein he delivers. And yes, to have that slight of it is sort of imperfect. I mean, not having them together. Keely needed her own.
Yeah.
That she does need a guy. Roy deserves happiness, and that's where, if this story is to continue, we'd like to see Roy have happiness, whether it be with somebody else, with Keely, with the teacher. I mean, the fact that he had that moment where the teacher was like, "Are you flirting with me?"
Yeah.
And the teacher's, like, "Well, duh, shithead." And he's like, I can't compute. I gotta go because I want to be with Keely. And for them to talk and have their moment and how, get back, it's like, oh, they're getting back together, but they're not.
Right.
Because Keely needs to be her own woman that
Right.
she, hinted at the end of season 2. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of growth there with those characters. A lot of growth there with those characters. So, yeah, I was totally happy with. It was so much to be happy with from, like I said, from Amsterdam on.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, I think I'm going to go watch some more Ted Lasso.
You're going to rewatch from the beginning and start from the beginning. Well, let's face it, if you're going to do it now, you got to start binging from episode 1, season 1, episode 1. Because that's what I want to do now. Knowing how things end, I'm sure there are a lot of Easter eggs all the way through this.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps,
yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see what, if we have to revisit this in a couple of weeks where we both rewatched it. Did you know that they put us in this direction and then just totally course corrected? Or did you see what they dropped in episode, 3 of season 1 and it totally came through? So I'm sure there's a lot of that. And I think, I'm with you. I will be watching Ted Lasso, all the way through from the get-go. I started watching I got through season 1 and I got midway through season 2, but I was just so depressed by Nate's crumbling. And to see him happy with his girlfriend and having to see him
and his
away.
dad.
I mean, Nick Mohammed. I mean, it was, and also had a great performance. I mean, everybody in this cast. I mean, ensemble awards galore for this cast.
Yeah. I hope they kill it
so well. So well.
Now, guys, if we want to hear what you had to think about Ted Lasso season 3, please leave a comment on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Our socials are all up there. If you enjoyed this video, like it. If you didn't enjoy this video, still like it anyway. It helps us a lot. And
fucking like it.
Watch it on your parents' phone or your kid's phone or your cousin's phone. Like it and subscribe on their phone. Don't tell them. Just subscribe. And we will see you next time on the BeeRPad. We have lots of great stuff to talk about. I think both of us are seeing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, tickets are on sale. We've got our tickets for this Saturday night, so we're going to go see that. My wife is going. She actually rewatched the show with the movie with me a couple of days ago in prep for this, and she's actually looking forward to it. It's getting great reviews. But the other thing is, one of the shows we're going to do in the next week or so is about video games. We're getting back to our roots. It's Diablo time, motherfuckers.
It is
Diablo 4. Have Blizzard dropped a doozy, or is this the StarCraft ghost of the 2020s? And I'm so looking forward to actually just talking about a video game and a franchise that I have adored and been invested in since the 1990s. I mean, the amount of Diablo battle chest compilations that I would keep on buying because I'd lose a disc here and there is beyond a joke. And in fact, I found a couple of them here recently. So yes, Diablo 4, about to download it and get into some of that action.
Johan left some excellent comments at the end. All funny stuff. Love the thing about the shares as well.
Maeve, there's a great character. I mean, that actress who's been around for so long, and she just, she became, the heart and soul. I mean, when the three wise monkeys, bless them, the three dickheads, bought lunch for Rebecca and her mum.
That was sweet.
Rebecca's mum.
She was in 2 finales this week.
Harriet Walter has appeared on my TV in 4 different shows this week. Succession, Ted Lasso. She's in Silo on Amazon Plus. And then there's a show on BritBox called The Cleaner. And she was in the episode I watched today of that as well, which is it's about a crime scene cleanup. It's a comedy with the comedian called Greg Davis, who's very, very funny. If you have BritBox, watch it. If you don't have BritBox, why don't you have BritBox? There's so many great British things on there.
And with that note, the last thing I have to say to you guys is so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night. And thank you guys for watching the BeeRPad. Take care for now.
Barbecue sauce.